Chapter 46. The information as presented so far has brought forth for each individual a greater understanding of the reason each is present and what each has come forth to accomplish. There have been transitions to contemplate through considering possibilities of the origin and evolvement of mankind on this planet that are far different than those presented by mainstream religion and the organized scientific community. It is interesting to note that definite and thoroughly researched available artifacts found at many different sites around the planet support the theory of the forced evolution of the original life forms for the purpose of serving outside ownership interests. These facts logically fill in the gaps that the mainstream anthropologists are unable to explain, and in doing so discredit their historical conjectures. Through the willingness to consider all the possibilities, including the two commonly debated conflicting origin theories, the thought process has been enhanced. Once possibility thinking has been incorporated into the mind-brain process, it changes the way all incoming information is considered. It is rather like breaking down a shell that has been artificially placed around each conscious awareness to protect it from considering anything other than the standard approved thought diet that is constantly fed to modern societies. This, of course, is purposeful to shape the collective, mass consciousness of the planetary whole to fit within the plan to control and re-engineer the human worker down the evolutionary scale rather than to allow it to spiral upward normally. Once this understanding is firmly established in the minds of the readers of these messages, it naturally focuses the intent toward thwarting this plan by outsiders that is clearly only for their benefit. No intelligent conscious awareness desires devolution rather than evolution. It also becomes quite clear that in order to change the future experience, it is not possible to use methodology that has been purposefully introduced and encouraged by the outside influence that obviously has psychologically planned every human experience to fit within their overall strategy of control. It becomes necessary to understand that in order to outmaneuver these planners, it is necessary to move to a strategy that is at least one step above their model program procedures. Their methods of operation involve using the universal laws in a focus that is not in harmony with the flow of energy generated by the expression of pure potentiality into greater self-contemplation. The plan of devolution of the humans on this planet is in direct opposition to this flow. It is then obvious that the intent to create a different experience is established by purposefully invoking the universal laws to act within the flow that moves expansively through evolution of species. There is no manifestation of experience or object without thought first conceiving and then projecting the desired design into the limitless field of undifferentiated energy that is available and waiting to fill the mold created by the intended design. When the laws are invoked in harmony with their purpose and released to fill in the details of the basic pattern, wondrous results happen. In contrast, as has been stated previously, to use the laws in a contrary flow, every detail must be delineated and held firmly in concentrated focus not only to create the design, but also to hold it in place. Consequently, as the pattern becomes more and more detailed, it also becomes more and more fragile. If the focus is released, the natural thought-thinking process would recognize the disharmony with its original purpose and begin a self-destruction process. The overview provided by this discussion allows for the reader to comprehend a larger picture, understanding of the situation in which the planet Earth and its inhabitants find themselves at this moment in its history. The word transcend means to rise above, transform, excel. In order to continue on their path of evolution, humanity must transcend this current experience. To do that, it must rise above those that would thwart that natural progress. Because thought is the basis of creation, it then becomes apparent that mankind must think in a way that is above and beyond their jailers, using a transformative conceptual pattern as their basis of intent. This could be further assisted if variations appear in humanity's behavior pattern that is inconsistent with what is expected to be their reaction to the programmed plan of control. Variations in humanity's projected stereotype behavior cause attention to shift away from the concentration needed to hold their expanding pattern in place. This then would weaken their ability to hold their fragile model in form. The question comes to mind as to how this all-important pattern of control is held in place by the varied groups that make up the support focus provided by the members of humanity that are in league with those that are now in control of the planet. The answer is very simple. Ritual. At the basis of all ritual, religious, or fraternal, public or secret, either similar wording or similar intent is present. All of these are purposefully mind-controlling and limit the behavior of those that take part in them even after these may have left the group and no longer practice the rituals. The concepts imparted continue to exert influence. The impact of participation in ritualistic routine designed to limit and control is thorough and often difficult to transcend. This is so because the patterns of limitation at the basis of its purpose tend to permeate many areas of thought and influence decisions that limit possibility thinking. Are all rituals devolutional? That depends upon the basic purpose and whether or not those practicing the ritual remain free of any desire to control or use the ritual for any devious purpose. It is difficult to invoke and hold a ritual to its original intent for any length of use. Consequently, spontaneity in meditation, prayer is strongly suggested. It may seem that just about all components of current life on the planet are tainted in some way with purposeful harm in mind. Certainly far-reaching efforts are being made to control every possible attitude and opinion. The human psyche has been examined extensively for the purpose of limiting and reversing the progress that has been made by the human beings either of origin or transplanted here. In actuality, because of the push to limit progress, the push to advance has been stronger than it would otherwise have been. It is difficult to limit further what has progressed despite great effort to prevent or lessen it. The only method employed by the self-appointed governors of the planet, solar system has been to do more of the same methods that have not stopped progress, only slowed it down. It appears to be working with the large mass of individuals. However, as most of those reading these messages can testify, it took a brief encounter with a logical presentation of triggering ideas to introduce possibility thinking right through all the programming for limitation. That in itself should indicate the tenuous success of the plan that is being foisted on humanity. It is time to begin thinking independently, including as many possibilities as possible about what is being provided as guidance from all sources meant to influence experiencing the gift of life. Consider the source and what might be the purposeful intent. Does it intend to promote opportunities to evolve, or is it intended to limit, control and lead to the eventual lessening of possibilities to make purposeful independent choices for the highest and best good of all concerned? Intention is the measuring quality to carefully ascertain. However, the best intention based on ritual information designed to influence negatively cannot but accomplish the original purpose, or at the least, cause confusion. There are many opportunities for lessons in discernment. Observe and consider carefully rather than come to conclusions too quickly. If each one has clear and purposeful intent to be aligned with what is truly for the highest and best good for all concerned, the observation mode will provide a true sense of what are the appropriate determinations to be made. Chapter 47. The situation as it now exists as perceived reality is viewed by each individual through the screen of previous influences. These messages are literally sifted through the belief systems of each individual in a format that is acceptable to each as reality. As what is acceptable is incorporated within the current belief system, this then creates a new reality format. This is a constant and ongoing process with regard to all information received from all sources. How much change happens within each reality format depends upon the flexibility of the individual psyche. What is gleaned from the messages as acceptable information varies with each individual. What segments seem especially important to one individual will not necessarily seem important to another. This is the reason that each is encouraged to read and reread the information. As the reader accepts portions of the information as possibly true, the accepted reality format of that moment changes. Different perspectives of what is indicated through the wording are perceived and either accepted as possibilities or rejected with each reading. With repeated readings, different information stands forth as especially meaningful and in turn stimulates new understandings as the mind-brain process is activated through consideration of different possibilities. It is a program designed to awaken and enhance the natural latent abilities yet to be tapped and to reawaken those that have been shut down by the mind control procedures all have been experiencing in increasing degrees for far longer than this century. The process that is begun by reading and assimilating those facets of information that are accepted into the belief system causes a shift in the thought process that reaches into other areas of the life experience. While it is focused toward birthing a new paradigm of experience for the human experience on this planet, it brings with it other changes that will benefit those choosing to incorporate greater flexibility into their concept of experience within a body. Experiencing an active role in the creation process at the present density of Earth's vibratory level requires the ability to acknowledge, internalize, analyze, and express emotions within the purposeful intention of living within the highest and best good of all concerned. This is setting up interaction that ripples outwardly in far-reaching effects beyond the finite mind's ability to comprehend. It is the release of the format of experience that must limit to control that has its basis in fear. Control is believed to offset fear in order that change can be slowed and a modicum of peaceful existence can be experienced. However, the control mode requires more control measures to support the original limits and is a self-perpetuating negatively expanding cycle. It is the mode that has been adopted by those who would own and control this planet and its inhabitants. The intention to create within the universal laws focused for the highest and best good for all concerned deliberately invokes change. It is through the release of this intention into the laws that change flows within a coordinated cycle that is logical and effortless. It is within this context that freedom is experienced. When all are included, then abundance is experienced in myriad different modes. Freedom encourages and allows diversity of expression, whereas control demands conformity and limitation. Both of these are contrary to the natural desires of self-aware consciousness. This is because those that attain this higher state of awareness have done so by aligning themselves with the flow of greater self-contemplation that is at the basis of potentiality, knowing itself through the expression of thought into experience into wisdom. It is through wisdom, knowledge acquired by living actual realized experience, that greater freedom is realized. This is the reason that life on a third-dimensional planet is honored and desired by units of self-awareness. To know greatly accelerates the evolution of the greater soul matrix, of which each is an intricate interactive part. Through this process, a greater understanding of who and what each one is becomes gradually acknowledged and realized. This carefully discovered self-realization is the foundation of all progress. Each recognition adds to the basic understanding, the knowing that each is an essential aspect of the essence of the whole. This whole is incomplete until the totality of it is gathered into the awareness of the true nature of whatever adventure is the focus to be thoroughly investigated and understood in this grand cycle. Forever is incomprehensible. Now is the only segment of power available to the conscious awareness. Third-dimensional awareness continues to focus on the past and the future, which removes the consciousness from participation in the only available point of influence. Past memory is meant to serve as an informational source to prevent repetition of previous inappropriate experience. The future is an unknowable point that is available to receive the experience that will manifest based on intentions and actions made in the now of the current moment. This unknown future cannot be different than what is being experienced in the current circumstances if there is no one present in the proactive moment acting in the creative intentional thought mode. It has been pointed out that if all the past and future thought was subtracted from the total human-focused thought on this planet at any given second, there are very few people actually present. It is something to contemplate carefully. The question then arises as to what is the difference between being absent in future thought and in intending a change to manifest in the future. When a conscious awareness is intending a creative thought, that awareness is experiencing as if it were actually present in the midst of the intended creation. In other words, the future intention is being pulled into the present moment as if it already exists. The imagination has that individual either pictorially or emotionally or in both modes, experiencing what is intended as if it already exists in the present moment. How is that possible if only the basic framework is known? The answer is to pretend that it is known and play with what it might actually be like. Even if only one tiny segment of the whole is examined in the exercise of imagination and enough are simulating this, then a whole will formulate. The thought-thinking segment will coordinate and revise the complexities into a balanced and harmonious format that will exceed all expectations. The birth of the new paradigm of experience will begin the change by reorganizing mankind's daily happenings. Those that are the instruments of this change will desire big changes to happen quickly. However, small changes in many places and in many different occurrences will begin the shift. It is more difficult to plug many small holes in a wall of plans than a few large ones. Subtle energy at work in many places leads to profound change. Trust the process. End chapter 47.